In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to replace the hard disk drive in a notebook system. Now, in a desktop PC system, it's relatively straightforward, right? We have our drive, we have our connector cables, our power cable. We need to replace the hard drive. We open up the case, unscrew the hard drive, remove the connectors, put a new one in, reconnect the connectors, set our master slave or our SCSI ID or whatever it is, depending on the type of drive we're attaching. Well, with a notebook system, it's not quite that straightforward. Notebooks aren't terribly standardized. Therefore, the way that you replace the hard disk drive, its location in the case itself, in fact, varies by manufacturer. So, the first step in replacing the hard drive in a notebook system is to get a hold of that notebook documentation. It'll tell you exactly where the hard disk is located and the procedure for changing the hard disk drive. I have a sample notebook system here, and we're going to change the hard disk drive. As I said earlier, the location and how you get at the hard drive varies by manufacturer. Some might have the hard disk underneath the panel like this. Not the case in this system. Underneath here is the memory. Others will have a bay, such as this one, that you can slide the hard disk out. Well, not on this one, because this system uses batteries in these two bays, not hard disk drives. I checked the documentation, and I found that the hard disk drive is actually located right over here. However, you don't access it from the bottom. At first glance, you might think, well, I'll take this panel off, get at the hard drive, right? Nope. Actually, it comes out from the side. What I'm going to do is remove a screw right here. Then the documentation says to lift up on this connector like this, and then just pull. And the hard drive slides out just like this. You can see the hard disk drive sits in a little caddy like this, and it's got a tab connector that's used to connect it to the motherboard. If I wanted to change this hard disk drive, I would go on the bottom, remove these 4 screws, which would allow you to remove this hard disk drive from this caddy. You put the new hard disk drive in, replace these 4 screws, and then just simply slide it back in. Making sure I can feel those tabs seat properly at the end of the drive. Replace the screw, and that's it. Now at this point, I would power the PC on and enter my CMOS setup program. And there I need to configure the new drive. Now if your CMOS setup program is set to auto, so it auto detects the hard drive, you're in great shape. If you installed it correctly, it should detect the new drive with its cylinders, heads, and sectors per track parameters. If you're doing it manually, you may need to look at the documentation for the new hard disk drive and manually enter your cylinders, heads, and sectors per track parameters. In this lesson, we talked about how to replace a hard disk drive in a notebook system. We talked about using the documentation to locate the hard disk drive first, removing it, putting it in, and then setting it up in the CMOS setup program.